Dividend investors, bonjour, Mike Hiroux here, founder of Dividend Stocks Rocks, and you guessed it, passionate investor. Today, I am answering that question, can you make money when you invest in a retail REIT? Quite a question, right? I'm going to use the example of Realty Income actually doing an all-stock merger with VEREIT. Kind of a very interesting because it was one REIT that I like, one REIT that I don't like, and they're all mashing everything together. We're going to take a look at this transaction, but first I want to come back a little bit in time. I've done a few videos about REITs back in fall of 2020. I got some heat because there's a lot of pro RioCan shareholders that were telling me, oh, look at this guy, he's not making any money on this one, he was completely wrong, RioCan was up, I made a lot of money, he didn't, blah blah blah. All right, so you know what? I am not the type of person that will hide behind my YouTube channel or anything else. So I just want to come up front and had a little bit more thought into that process about RioCan. So technically, yeah, for a few months, I've been wrong because RioCan has been surging. Actually, it's up like 40-50%. Since last fall. And if we look back at the peak of the pandemic, so the bottom of March, we can see that both Realty Income and RioCan went up by roughly 52% if you consider total return included. So in other words, it was a perfect timing to buy them as they were getting a strong beating. I get that, it's all right, but keep in mind, RioCan, I have not been a fan for several years. Not this year, not like the past 6 months, for several years. So one thing, if you made money on RioCan, good for you. It's great. You know what? I'm not a fan of the energy sector. Right now, the energy sector is booming, and I am on the sideline for that too. And I really don't mind. It's not because you're following your investing strategy that you have to be right all the time and that you're necessarily completely wrong either. If I look at my portfolio, my returns are great. I'm happy with my strategy, and that's what really matters. If you are jumping on those kind of opportunities and you made money, that's also good for you, and that's fine. What I want to put you in perspective is, do not make the mistakes of thinking that a few months will make several years of great returns. So while when you look at Realty Income or RioCan over the past year, it has been an amazing ride. Congratulations to you if you bought them at that price. However, if you have been holding those stocks for more than that, it could be a little bit more complicated. On this graph, you'll see 10 years of total return. You compare it to obviously the SPY, so S&P 500, and on the other side for RioCan, it's a Canadian company, so we have to look at the TSX. If I had put this graph over the past 5 years, RioCan has generated like 3% return in 5 years during a huge bull market. So you have to take that into consideration. But my point here is REITs are great. They offer stability, they offer income, and that's perfect if this is what you're looking for. It looks like a deluxe bond, as I like to call them, in the sense that you're not going to expect much growth over a long period of time, but if you have a decent yield, then you're still better than with a bond, and it will have this kind of stability. So this is what we're getting with both RioCan and Realty Income, but RioCan generating like 50% return over the past 10 years. If you're telling me it's awesome, I don't know what to say at this point. I'm a long-term investor, and I don't think that moving forward, now if you forget that 50% that you just made, think for the next 10 years, I'm not convinced that you're going to generate that much return. And that was my point in those videos. So I'm not saying that RioCan is completely crap. It's just that I don't like this type of company, especially because they're in the retail business. Now, when you look at Realty Income on this graph, 200% return over the past 10 years. Obviously, it's not as good as the rest of the market, but I mean, you cannot really compare a REIT to tech stocks, for example. It's not fair. So now let's dive into that transaction about Realty Income and VEREIT and see what's happening there. Is it a good transaction? Should you consider Realty Income, the new Realty Income in your portfolio for retirement? This is what we're going to talk about today. I like a lot of things about Realty Income, and it's kind of funny because I don't like retail REITs in general. General trend is a lot of retail is moving towards online industry, towards e-commerce. We know that it's now 25% of all retail transaction, and it's expected to continue growing. If you have looked at Amazon recent quarterly earnings, their sales were up like there's no tomorrow. They're generating cash flow, and they invest massively to grow and expand moving forward. So I don't think that classic shopping malls will be the key for growth in the next 10 years. It will be very difficult for them. However, Realty Income has a completely different model. They have one tenant property type of business. So basically they don't have those strip malls, and they are incredibly well diversified across various industries. So we're talking about 600 client, 56 industries, still in the retail, but if you're looking for something in that retail mode, it's great. And they have proven their success over time. 26 consecutive years with dividend increase. And I think that this is the key point if you want to invest in REITs. Take those that are offering, and it doesn't matter if it's a big increase or a small one, but those REITs that are able to increase year after year, they are just amazing. And this is what you want in your portfolio. You're going to protect your capital, you're going to protect your income from inflation, and you're still going to receive a good yield. Don't forget, Realty Income is paying a 4% yield, and they distribute their payment monthly. So it's kind of like the perfect balance for a retired investor that wants to protect his capital and earn some money on the side and protect it from inflation. And on top of that, they help you with your budget because you get your paycheck every single month. While Realty Income is specialized in retailers, what I like is their great diversification among several industries. And what's even better is they have a lot of industries that are sheltered against e-commerce. Walgreens, 7-Eleven, Dollar General, FedEx, even Circle K. I mean, hello, Alimentation Couche-Tard shareholders. You know that I love this stock. This company throughout the entire pandemic was able to maintain a very high payment collection rate. Right now, they're at 94, 95%, and that 5% that is lagging, you guessed it, if you looked at that graph, AMC, movie theaters obviously are not paying their rent right now, which is pretty much obvious. And this is the only part of the business that is really at risk. The rest is well diversified, very strong, and they don't have to worry too much about the impact. Let's say that the vaccine doesn't work after a year or anything, they will continue to grow, and they actually maintain and increase their dividend throughout the pandemic, which I was actually impressed. I didn't expect that. I thought that they would make a pause there and just wait, but they showed even more confidence, and for that reason I like them even more at this point. Now you have to understand their business model. Realty Income has been, I just like put some praise and I'm telling you that it's great. They operate with a triple net lease. What's triple net? It's not because it's ultra clean, it's because they let the tenant pay for pretty much everything. So the tenant has to pay for maintenance on the building, they have to pay for the building insurance, for the taxes and so on. So pretty much all the other fees around having a business, a property is not in the responsibility of Realty Income, but rather put on the tenant's shoulder. So it has this advantage that you get the rent and you don't have to think about anything else. Everything is being taken care of, and it helps you to control your expenses, which is great for REITs because they're like really boring and long-term investment, and we don't like surprises with those. They don't have any surprises on their side, so that's great. The downside of this is their rent escalator is not that high. On average, they have like 10-15 years contract, and the rent increased by about 1% per year. So if you're expecting dividend increase every single year, but you know that your revenue is likely only going to increase by 1% a year, math doesn't add up, right? It's not going to make sense. And Realty Income would have not been able to do that for 26 consecutive years to increase their dividend with those mediocre revenue growth. So their strategy is actually to use their strong balance sheet, remortgage their property, and buy new one, make new acquisitions. So the entire strategy relies on the ability of Realty Income to grow their business through acquisition. If they are not able to do that, the dividend increase will stop at one point, because 1% increase every year is not enough. So it gives the triple net business model gives a great stability in terms of revenue, no surprises, so no shortfall in their budget, but at the same time, it limits the growth potential. So now, this is probably one of the reasons it drove Realty Income to merge with VEREIT. But when you look at both companies, they don't necessarily have the same dividend profile. And this is why I didn't like this one too much. VEREIT has been completely on the opposite side. Retail REIT as well, but we'll look into their business model. They have, like, it's a little bit more diversified because they have offices and industries, but they don't increase their dividend. Actually, they didn't increase it for several years. And if you've been following me for a while now, you know that an absence of dividend growth is a red flag. It is one step closer to a dividend cut. And guess what? If you're not able to increase your dividend while the economy is booming, while people are making money and they're confident and they want to purchase goods, if you're not able to do that during great times, when the recession happens, regardless what it is, well, there you go. You have a dividend cut. This is what happened during the pandemic. So now VEREIT is doing better now, obviously. So they have increased it a little bit, but they're still lagging behind. So if you were depending on that income is still gone, and it's going to take a while to come back, as opposed to have Realty Income that is not offering like an incredible dividend growth perspective. We're talking about 18% over the past 5 years, but it's more than enough to cover for inflation, and it shows that the business is doing well. So why such a great REIT would want to merge with such a bad one? Let's take a look at VEREIT portfolio. You'll see here that we have 46% in retail, 20% in restaurants. So obviously, they took a big hit when the COVID happened and the first lockdowns happened. No restaurant were able to operate. So this is where you got this big problem for them. That's more like of a structure of anything. But what I like about their portfolio is their small exposure to offices and industrial. So we're talking 18% industrial properties, 15% offices. So it offers a great mix to Realty Income, which is not that present in those industries. And I like when a REIT is able to expand their horizon a little bit more. It helps them if there's one part of the business that is not doing well, they can still rely on cash flow from another place. We all know that industrial REITs will do well in the future. So having a little bit more of industrial properties will be good. For offices, it's still a question mark. We don't know how the pandemic is going to affect offices going forwards. We'll need offices, that's for sure. How it's going to be used and displayed, that's another story, but at least it's not a big part of the company. So now when we look at what's going to happen once they merge, they're actually going to create one incredibly large REIT. We're talking 10,000 properties, market capitalization of 50 billion, which will make them the 6th largest REIT in North America, which is pretty cool, right? 6th largest REITs in the retail. What I like on this graph, if you can see, is the top 10 client concentration will decrease actually, because Realty Income right now has 36% of their income coming from their top 10 client. After they move, it will be they merge, it will go down to 31%, which is great. And the investment grade will still be very good. So the percentage of investment grade client was 51% with Realty Income, 39% with VEREIT. So it brings us at 45%, which is not too bad. occupancy rate is very high at 98%, so there's not too much work to be done there. So overall, it looks like we're just moving forward with a great strategy for Realty Income. Growth by acquisition, they will have a great place, and probably that they're having a very good deal right now, as restaurants are not exactly hype and some retail tenants are not doing that great. So that's good. When we look at the top tenants, what it will become, well, you can see that it's interesting because it kind of like makes sense a lot. We have Walgreens, Dollar General, FedEx, Dollar Tree, 7-Eleven. Those companies were both tenants at VEREIT and at Realty Income, so it kind of like mashes together very well. Walmart will be there also. CVS pharmacy. So overall, the concentration of the top clients will remain very pandemic e-commerce shielded. And this is one thing that I really like about this transaction, is they're moving towards something that they know already, but they're getting a little bit more diversification. Now, management is obviously addressing a great landscape, a great portrait of that transaction. They're telling us that they will improve their adjusted funds from operation by 10% right up front upon the merger, which is very good. The thing is, they're going to be able to reduce expenses. All the admin and all the bureaucracy will be sliced, and then this is where they will be able to save a lot of money. Obviously, with the largest balance sheet, with a lot of more properties, they will be able to remortgage those and do exactly what they do best, is using their property as collateral and making new acquisition. So on that part, I think it's also a great deal. So Realty Income is going to be bigger, but they're pretty much in the same space, so they know what they're doing. They will gain scale and economies of scale, so they will be able to use those properties, make new purchases. So overall, I think that it's a great transaction for Realty Income at a 4% distributed monthly. I think it's a great deal if you're looking for those type of deluxe bond. Do not expect Realty Income to see their stock price double and triple like there's no tomorrow. You're not buying the next Amazon here. But at the same time, if you're looking for a safe income, it is the type of REIT that you want in your portfolio. I'm pretty sure that you have other ideas about REITs. I would like to hear them out. I'm pretty sure that I'm setting myself up to a few more videos on that. I want also to thank Curtis for asking me about Realty Income. So thank you, Curtis. I hope that you have listened to the entire video to get that thank you. But because of you, I decided to do that, that video and to go a little bit deeper into Realty Income. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to have those updates. I'm making one video every single week. And until next week, stay invested.